What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to Carolina Poets and Poetry Goes Viral. And it's hosted by the Carolina Poets. And you can help the cause by liking this page. And we'll keep you up with events and publishing opportunities as well. Feel free to like, comment, and share this feed. Questions are definitely welcome. This series is held every Thursday night at 7 p.m. With three poets. Now, it's three poets that have Southern connections. So we thank you for coming. Bienvenidos a todos. Welcome to everybody. Again, my name is Tony Robles. I am the People's Poet. We'd like to shout out to Carolina Poets and Kimberly Sims Gibbs for putting this together. Is Hispanic Heritage Month. I think it's 2 weeks dedicated to Latino heritage, Hispanic Latino heritage. Now, there are those that aren't really down with being called Hispanic. They would rather be called Latino. There's a lot of debate over that, but we'll get into that later on in the program. We have three wonderful poets tonight that are going to share their work with us. And I would like, well, first of all, we're going to have the poets come on, and then afterwards, they are going to we're going to have a question and answer segment, so people can send in their questions, and we'll have a dialogue. Our first poet, our first performer, is Bruno Saucedo. Now, he is drawn to and transformed by a powerfully told story, whether in word, song, or in other art forms. For him, the most powerful mediums of storytelling are received through the eyes and the ears. His stories start with jazz and classical saxophone. He is a musician. When the sound is not enough to convey to others what he hears in his head, he turns to words. Poems and short stories are a little easier on the ears for most people, especially when paired with the risk and spontaneity that jazz allows. So again, let's welcome Bruno Saucedo. What's up, brother?
Hey everybody, my name is Bruno, and I'm a filmmaker, and I live in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And I'm also a bit of a writer. I write poetry sometimes. And so today I'm just going to write you a little bit of poetry. I'm going to read to you a little bit of poetry that I've written in the past few weeks. And so I hope you all enjoy. Now, I actually haven't gotten around to naming this little poem. So if you have any suggestions, be sure to let me know, yeah? So here I go. Once he was the good son and the strong son, the smart son and the brave son. Once he had a home and a family, but they were broken like the pieces of a puzzle. They never quite fit. One was too bold. He drowned the pieces around him. He can't realize he's part of a bigger picture. One was too clever. He could see more than those around him. He doesn't know what he's capable of, and he may never know. And one was too young. He lived without fear. He couldn't fight the change, and there was no choice. One was too fragile. She tried to hold them together. She wouldn't forget her past, and it caught her. And the last was too big for his skin. He didn't know how to cry. The other pieces clung to him in odd ways. They needed somewhere to anchor themselves, but they were so wary of touching one another that they stretched this piece too thin. And so they were never truly a picture, and before they could realize it, they were separated. The good son and the bold son were to stay in the care of those who saw their need, and the other two sons and their mother left to a dust bowl, a land without hope, to wither and decay. And so the bold son set about drowning the new pieces around him, and forgetting the pieces that he used to know. And the good son stayed quiet, remembering the ways things used to be. He had taken care of them. No matter where they had stretched him, he was content. They did not have each other, but they all had him. He had taken their sorrows, their worries, their fears, and buried them, hidden them away so they could not see them. And they were happy. But they did not know where he hid them. They did not think to ask. They were hidden inside of him. And now the suns are all gone. Pieces of a puzzle that had once made a beautiful picture were scattered, gone away, forgetting each other. The good son is no longer a good son. He has no one to protect. The other pieces see that he left them and they hate him. But he has his new people. They care for him, they clothe him and feed him, but they forget where he came from. A piece from one puzzle cannot fit into another. It is not the way. So the good son tries to fit into his new puzzle, but he is too stretched, too shifted, weird, broken. He is not the good son anymore. He is not the strong son or the brave son or the smart son. He is the extra son. His new puzzle is grand, strong, and colorful. They are full of love and cheer. The extra son is happy. He has his music. This makes him cheery. He has his body. He is still in good form and can perform great feats. This makes him cheery too. He can forget his old puzzles so easily. It's as if they were never alive, and he is so happy. But their memory still slinks in his mind. When he remembers, he is filled with shame. But when he feels where they stretched him, he cannot bear to think of them. So he sets about forgetting again. But he sees where he cannot fit in his new puzzle. They are kind and loving, good people. But it is true he cannot fit. The pride under his skin is too great. It swells his brain and threatens to spill from his eyes. But he wishes not to be a burden. So he skirts the edges of his new puzzle and tries to stay out of the way. They don't know. He was once the good son. He was once the shining star in his mother's sky. To his brothers, he could split stone with his hands. He walked with purpose. Now he is the extra son. So that's that. A little bit of background on this particular poem. About 4 years ago, I was living with my mother and my 3 brothers. And unfortunately, she was forced to leave the country, and she was forced to take my 2 younger brothers with her, and me and my older brother. We had the choice to reside here in the United States with a great couple by the name of Dr. James and the lady Deanna Horowitz. And so this poem is really just a little bit of, introspective, just kind of mind dump on the position that I found myself in, because it was really strange being in this weird circumstance of, climatizing myself to this new family that so willingly accepts me, while at the same time remembering that I'm part of something old and so easily forgetting. So, yeah, sad. That's all I've got for you.
All right. So Bruno, you are a jazz musician. Talk a little bit about that. I think when we spoke a while back, you're part of a jazz quartet or jazz group. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, right on. I'm part of a jazz duo, and we're called Toaster Fish. It's me and a good friend of mine whose name is Purple. His birth name is not Purple, but we all know him by Purple. And
Right.
he's a guitar and bass player, and I'm a horn player. I play the alto saxophone. And so
Alto sax. Okay.
Yeah, that's me. And so I started playing classical saxophone just in the band in middle school, just because, hey, it was something fun to do. And I had this sax, so I was like, hey, why not? Just gonna play a little bit of music. And I didn't really get serious about it until about my freshman year of high school. And that's when I started listening to, super legendary artists like Cannonball Adderley and Charlie Parker. These guys really revolutionized jazz and the saxophone. And it was just so mind-blowing because, the classical aspect of music is fine. It's great. It's nice. It has its place. But jazz is just so all over the place. It's just taken what classical made great and stretching it so far. And so
are you going to share any of a little bit of your sax in tonight's program? Can we
if you
ask
really
you to
want to,
it would be
really
it would
want me to, I can play something for you, but it's going to take me a moment to
no
to
problem.
get set
I
up.
tell you, why don't we do it later on in the program? What about Sonny Rollins? You like Sonny Rollins?
I love Sonny Rollins.
All right, you're my man. So Bruno, thank you so much. You live in Hendersonville, is that correct?
That's me.
Yeah, they call it Hendo. I'm originally from San Francisco, so I went from Frisco to Hendo. I don't know
Nice.
if I'm going back to Frisco, but I feel like I'm living in two places. But anyway, brother man, thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Uh, and we're gonna get to our next poet. I've known uh, I've known for a while. My man Benjamin Bac Sierra. He is the author of a wonderful novel that came out a number of years ago. It's called Barrio Bushido. And you see that fist right there? You don't want to get in the way of that fist. But anyway, I believe Ben was born and raised in San Francisco. He was raised by a widowed mother, also raised by the streets of San Francisco's Mission District. Now, after serving as a grunt in the Marine Corps frontline combat during the first Gulf War, Ben completed his BA in English at UC Berkeley, earning a teaching credential and a master's in creative writing from San Francisco State University, and merited a Juris Doctor degree from the University of California, Hastings College of the Law. Since 2002, he has been a professor at my alma mater, City College of San Francisco, and a community innovator and keynote speaker throughout the Bay Area. So he's repping the Bay, repping Frisco. Ben's essays and stories have been published in newspapers and literary magazines, including World Literature Today, where he was featured as a prominent emerging author. His first novel, Barrio Bushido, was presented a Best of the Bay Award and an International Latino Book Award. And in 2016, UC Hastings College of the Law, La Raza Students Association honored him as a distinguished alumni of the year for his community leadership and legal analysis of police killings. Pura Neta, again, Pura Neta. His latest novel is published by Pochino Press. So let's give a warm welcome, give love to brother man Benjamin Bac Sierra.
Curanita. Curanita. I believe that is the way most people will pronounce my new novel that is set to be released in less than a week, September 30th, right? But in reality, it is Puraneta, 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 Puraneta Homes, which is street Spanglish for pure truth. But check out, how are you going to ever be honest with the truth? These words that I got written down right here, these words that I spit at you, they are actually just fleas jumping on a page. They are spider symbol. Spider symbol. You don't have to believe that words matter. Like you, I know once a word is whispered, it is a lie. The word can never substitute for the thing. These letters are spider symbols, an inexact attempt at reality. Nevertheless, I love a good lie, and entertainment, an engineering marvel, a web, sticky and almost invisible, waiting to capture its victim. The reader, the listener. These words were constructed with sweat and blood, precision, grace, patience, a plan, a horror story where you get tangled up, no escape except imagination for salvation from the spider, spider, the spider. And if these words are not totally truth, then what is, right? And I would propose to you all that it is only feelings that are truth. Truth, what is that? Except what I feel. And if my feeling is false, then there is no doubt that everything else is less than truth. Only the feeling matters. There ain't no way to intellectualize or define or classify the orange. Feeling it is it. Biting into it is it. Orange juice squirting into your mouth is it. You taste it, and that is it. Sweet and sour. There is nothing complicated about the orange, about anything. All right, pura neta. Back to pura neta, all right? And objectively speaking, perhaps we can agree, I think most people would, that if there is such a thing as pura neta, the only thing is death, la muerte, all right? Now, let's understand that is both a universal truth and a crazy imagination. Why? Because, look, we believe it is real. People have left us. But we know absolutely nothing about it. Except for this. The roster of dead homies. Hyman, Lobo, Pelly, Smokey, Dookie Dave, Payaso, SFM Jeff, Alex Nieto, Abe, Happy, y muchos más. Now, I can get all serious about that. But the homies, their spirits, they would not want that seriousness. So, a toast to the test of life. That's all right there, okay? All right? Because to kill ya, especially for an indio like me, will kill you. It will kill you in the guts. It will murder you with headaches. fire water fever is meant to destroy you. No, Uraneta is about you getting back to you, your natural roots. And that means your body, your physical fitness, your love making, your laughing, laughs, good jokes, howling at the moon. Oh! Vida loca. All right? Imperfect amor. Some people are made of plastic. You know, some people are made of wood. Some people have hearts of stone. Some people are up to no good. Oh, but baby, I'm for real. I'm as real as a real can get. If what you're looking for is real loving, then what you see is what you get. Ha! What you see is what you get. And what you get is this. You get a Mayan Indio. Because this is who I am. I bloodlet, sacrifice my sangre through this ink, through these words. Let's understand this, Holmes. My Mayan ancestors, they would cut their most intimate flesh, their tongues, their genitals, their ears, and they would spread that blood onto parchment, paper, bark cloth that was then burned. See this pot right here? It was burned so that the smoke that exuded from the flames, the spirits could snake out to reveal blessing, mystery that drove a civilization to the stars. Alone in this room, confined to myself, my mind, my pride and pain, I bloodlet through writing so that I can communicate with spirits, so that I can share with you secrets that were burned away so many moons ago, burned away by the Spanish conquistadores, holy men. And now I gift you my heart. I gift you my heart. I burn my heart for you. And this smoke that is rising, I want you to look at that smoke. Investigate yourself. This smoke that rises is for you to interpret whatever meaning you find out of it. Amor, always, in all ways, all amor. Gracias. Gracias. That's it.
Ben,
Yes, brother.
Ben, gracias, hermano.
All right.
Now,
Thank you,
now
brother.
you like, well, it's Latino Heritage, Hispanic Heritage Month. You Latino brother. I'm a Filipino guy, but you see, the Filipinos are like the Latinos of Asia.
Yeah. We look
So
the same,
you say,
brother. Look at us.
I know.
Yeah. How you do? When I say bro to you, I really mean what's up, bro?
I was, man. I was digging the dramatics, man. You know what you're looking for is real love, and then what you see
It's
is
what
what
you
you get. Tell us a little. We're gonna have Q&A a little bit later, Ben, but just tell us a little bit about Barrio Bushido and a little bit about Pura Neta, because they're both novels and they're both connected, right? Both novels are
Yes,
connected.
that's right. All right. So Barrio Bushido, that setting is in San Francisco. It's actually an imaginary town. It's set in 1992, right? And at the end of the book, the homies, the big homies, right? They're not even that big. They're young men, but they were considered big homies back then, right? They kick out a youngster homie, a runt, a homie, because they see that he's got some promise in him, and they don't want him being corrupted by the street, So they kick him out of the barrio, right? And he doesn't want to go, man. He tries to fight against it. Fuck this shit. I'm gonna be with my homies, right? But then he sees his dead mentor's gravesite. It says, "This is Takeoff." And he realizes, damn, man, that's crazy. How can a grave say this is Takeoff? No, because they're planted in the ground. How is that a takeoff? And then he realizes, you know what? I should go, man. And he leaves, right? And so I wrote that book. It was published almost 10 years ago. And I got the idea a couple of years ago to make a sequel. And so I thought to myself, hey, how about having that character, cartoon, right, come back? How about having him come back after his educational odyssey and talking about what he learned, like coming back to help the community, coming back to start some good shit, right? And then, he finds out that things have changed. It is no longer the gangs that he has to compete with, but it is cafes and microbreweries and gentrification and racism, police brutality, educational, economic injustice, right? And so he gets together with his old homies and they go to implement amor action in the hood. Amor action means action full of love, man. Action full of love.
Can you hold up the artwork again? Now that's the artwork that you were holding up. That's the new cover, right?
Yeah, this is the new cover right here. It's called Pura Neta. Daniel Zarazua, Chino Press. They're publishing it. In fact, he gave me a call earlier today that tomorrow I get to pick up the books, Holmes. So actual hard copy books are coming out tomorrow, right? But name is Pura Neta. If you're interested in learning about this story that actually integrates both prose and poetry in it, I do recommend check out the book. It's going to be on Amazon. You could order it through Chino Press as well. All right,
that's great. That's what's up, brother. Again, Pura Neta, the upcoming novel from Benjamin Bac Sierra. He's going to be getting the hard copies tomorrow by Pochino Press. Shout out to editor Daniel Zerazura. And I know that you worked really hard on that novel. Again, once again, his first novel, Barrio Bushido, which is a wonderful, wonderful read. And be sure to pick up Pura Neta. Much love to you, brother, and a shout out to everybody. Much love to all our people out in the Bay. So let me see where I was in terms of time. It looks like we're doing okay. Our next poet is Delia Jovel, and she is a very, very wonderful lady. I've known her, I guess, for a couple of months now. She was born in Chalatenango, El Salvador in 1976, born almost at the same time as the Salvadorian Civil War, an event that totally marked her life. Since she was young, she has been informed and attired by social justice movements, and it's for that reason she decided to study journalism and also political science. She tries to live a life founded in trust, solidarity, and coherence. As an Aries, she has always felt a natural call to create, to be creative, and to move and to transform. For the past 6 years living in the US, she decided to join different initiatives to support the Hispanic or Latino immigrant rights movement. For her, it became a way to understand and to deal with her own traumas, but also a way to rebuild a community, a space of belonging, and a home. And Delia also considers herself as an emerging artist that has arrived, an apprentice who tries to find sense and beauty and purpose in everything she does. Let's welcome Delia Jovel.
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much. I really feel honored to be with Bruno and also with Ben. Thank you for this invitation. I'm really happy, and thank you, Tony.
Right on.
I'm gonna start. It's the moment to start. Okay, I'm gonna share with you I never like to say this a poem. It's just something that I wrote maybe some month ago, and the name is "Let Love Survive." And this is my reading. What do I have inside? What happened in my mind? Sometimes I feel a storm, so many ideas that are spinning in my world. Let me share with you what happened when I am thinking, who am I in a country that didn't see my birth, that didn't see and listen my first cry. No records, no list, no name, just fingerprints. Some shopping receipt, some bills, taxes, and my IT. Here I became a concept full of generalities and misconception, no identity, or maybe too many. Latina, Hispanic, alien, foreign, Salvadorian, Central American, brown woman, immigrant, woman of color, minority, person with an irregular status, undocumented, illegal, and more. What do I have inside? What happened in my life? What's the point? You guys will say. The point is taking care about what you listen and said, about a community that you don't know and maybe you just ignore. Let's not hear what people say about us. Go ahead and just explore. Let's try to listen those who are not here, those who never appear. What do you have here? What is real? I just want to destroy the belief that divide. White supremacy is not about a skin color, it's all the values that we promote and that the way we use our privilege. Please, let's all break out the philanthropy and open up space to empathy. Break down the pity and open your arms. Let's love survive. This is one of my poem. I don't know if I have time to read another one. It's not so big, but I can share another one with you. Just one moment. This is something that I love a lot. The name is I Come from the South. I come from the South, from South America, from that abundant, colorful, and faithful, but in your land. I came from the South, from Central America, from that place in perpetual exile, from a crisis to another, from a disease to another, from an income to another, from a border to another, until get here. Since I came, I have drawn my own map, a map of safe spaces, and encounters with resting areas and evacuation routes. My map shows me where I don't have to go, where I don't have to talk. In a land that proclaims freedom, I feel prisoner. To protect myself, sometimes I have to look down, whisper, or just not speak, or just never appear. My family, my language, and my community are my homeland. I emigrate and stay in this country, making use of my survival instinct, but also my right to resist. I resist living in a world that divides us by color or social class. I resist fragility and vulnerability caused for someone else's privilege. I resist thinking that my racial profile will define my destiny. I resist believing that mistrust is synonymous of security. I resist to losing hope on a world in equity and solidarity. Everyone should know that I am also seed and campus of this land. My sweat, my wit, my strength, my work, my joy, my dream, and my descendants. I'm sorry. Pollinize, fertilize, and produce a fresh harvest. Thank you. Can I read another one? I don't know if you are there.
Yes, please. Read another one.
Okay, my last one. Okay, this is a very personal writing. Is about I am somebody who are always searching something and searching for myself. I have looked for myself always and everywhere, in my past and present, in my family, friends, in places, countries, in social categories, everywhere. I wanted to find myself in books, looking into others' eyes, in some bodies and voices. I tried to get to know myself by looking at the horizon during round trips, driving for long hours in lonely walks, or diving into the sea. I wanted to find myself in science, in esoteric belief, in religion, in political and social movements. I have been looking for me all my life, and I have only found lost pieces that didn't match. I have consumed my time looking myself without understanding that when more I search, more I get lost. Finally, I realized that finding myself is an act of stillness, acceptance, and silence. Thank you.
Oh, hell to the yeah. That was, man, that was Delia. I had no idea. I mean, I knew you were a poet, but you're a poet with you're a poet with a capital P.
I'm just a farmer now.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about that before we get into the group discussion. We met a couple of months ago, and you had told me, "Hey, Tony, we want to do a co-op here in Western North Carolina, a farmers co-op," and you've actually been able through some negotiation and being out there in the community to secure an acre or to secure some land. I've been out there watching and helping. Tell us about the vision and how that came about.
Okay, I have been always very attached to land. My father was a farm. I came from a little town in El Salvador, but for very clear reasons, civil war, economic situation, be a farmer in El Salvador is not the best idea. But it's something that's always been very important in my life. And at 44 years old, I just decided that it's the right moment. And I have invite other people like you, people who also love to be in the middle of the land, not just because we want to find, the food security. It's not just that. I think land, it's a very way to heal ourselves. For me, it's a way to just reconnect with my ancestor, with the real life. Being able to use your body, your hands, feel dirty. It is also a way to reconnect with who we really are. And that's
And it really comes through when we're out there. You can just see, people becoming, more relaxed. They become become more themselves. Hey, Kimberly, is there a way that we can bring everybody on the screen at one time and we can just have the discussion? Okay. I kind of want to start off with this notion of something that Delia, something that you said, that you are in perpetual exile, right? The feeling of perpetual exile. There was a writer who said that we are all exiles from the past, and yet we're so tied to the land, and we're so tied to colonization, things what Ben was talking about and what Bruno was talking about. Can you talk, just each of you address that, what that means and how that affects your notion of home and belonging in place?
Okay,
Ben, Ben, if you want to start, that's fine.
So, you know what? In the book Planeta, there's a point where one of the characters, Toro, even though he was in the Marine Corps and served in combat, he gets paranoid, man. He gets paranoid that he's not American, man, and he knows that there's a lot of hate out there, right? So, there's a discussion in the book about the difference between paranoia and consciousness, right? Is someone being simply paranoid, or are they being conscious of the way things work, right? And so there's a fine line right there, right? And I think by doing what we're doing, Bruno is about to play some music for us. Delia's working in the land. That's real roots. Literally, that is roots, right? Like going back to our roots. That's part of Puraneta. A big part of my new novel, Puraneta, is we gotta go back to our roots, because that explodes us into authentic consciousness, right? And that is a consciousness that is beyond this kind of stuff right here, man. I would argue that this kind of stuff really takes us away from who we are, right? So that's my take, man.
Well, with Delia, the experience being out in the farm, and because I don't have too many calluses, but I'm getting there in helping. Can you talk, Bruno? Wynton Marsalis always said that jazz was perhaps the purest form of democracy, right? Because you have it from the bottom and nobody gets lost and everybody has a part. Talk about how jazz has helped you in your life in terms of your identity and your sense of community, and just trying to make sense as a man of color, a young man of color, where you fit in, where you fit in this world.
Yeah, I think that makes a whole lot of sense, and I think a lot of it goes back to this idea of where your roots are. You look at I grew up here in Henderson County. I identify very much as American, but I also identify as a Mexican American, and I identify with my Latino culture. And I think with jazz, jazz doesn't discriminate, and I think you get into a lot of ideals where people out in the world will tell you, hey, being Mexican American means you're not American. Or people will say the opposite, everybody's an American. But there's always a principle of some people are more American than others. And the thing with jazz is no matter where you are in the world, whether you're playing with an alto saxophone or a stick and a rock, everybody starts in the same place and everybody ends in a different place, because jazz is at its core people's spontaneity within themselves being expressed through sound. And so there is no right or wrong in jazz. There's music theory, and music can guide to play certain melodic phrases or whatever. But at the end of the day, jazz is a person being expressed through sound.
And it's something, because when we're on the farm, when Delia's on the farm with with the gente, with the crew, in a way that's music. In a way that can be jazz in a way. And I'd like, before Bruno, before you get into your piece, what I'd like to ask you is, I'm no expert on this, but there is this thing with identity. You have people that, certain parts of the country, they don't like to use the word Hispanic. Some folks don't like to. Some folks like to use the word Latino. Some people like to use Latinx. But thing is, we have Hispanic Heritage Month, but Latino's been here, from before, right? And it ain't just 1 month or 2 weeks out of the month. It's like 24 hours, 7 days a week, right? So if you could just maybe give your thought, each of you just give your thoughts on that. Delia, why don't we start with you?
Yes, I had always problem with all this concept, because honestly, I feel that I am an indigenous person. I am somebody who was born here, who, of course, I have many. I am a Latina. Do you know I have many different. A mezcla. I'm sorry, I don't find the right word, but I am a native woman. I'm not a Latina because it's not the right concept. I'm not Hispanic because it's just part of me, and I feel like an indigenous and a native woman from Central America.
Right on, right on. Ben, did you want to?
I'll second that right now. Delia and Delia knows, right? I'm not sure if Bruno knows how deep this is, but I like to think of myself as an Indio. Yo soy Indio, and I'm not pure Indian. My grandmother was a pure Mayan. My father was as well. My mother is Ladina. But my point about that is that Delia, she knows Indio is actually an insult in Latin America. I know that, but you know what? I embrace that, because the Indios are rooted, man. They understand things beyond colonization. They understand the wisdom that's tied to the earth, that's tied to community in a different way than what capitalism has structured us to be. Right? So I'm proud to think of myself as an Indio with a little bit of Eurocentric education as well. Yeah, that's it.
Well, it put me on a limb, man, because in terms of identity and everything, I always just say, I'm a Filipino cat from Frisco. See, now I got to rethink, and I got to rewind and replay, right? So Bruno, if you could talk, maybe just address that, and then take us out with your piece, that would be fantastic. So yeah, if you can give a little bit of,
I think when you get into that kind of stuff, it gets really tricky really fast. It's very strange. I said before, I identify as American, but I also identify as Mexican American. My parents are from very different places. My mother is straight out of Guadalajara in Mexico, and my father was born in France, and his father was French, and his mother was Spanish. And so I'm from. I got a little bit of everything going on, yeah. But there's two sides of this coin. Something you can look at it one way and say, hey, well, I'm from all these places. I'm going to embrace all these cultures. And now I'm in the U.S., which is a place in which you're supposed to be, the melting pot. You're supposed to assimilate all those cultures. Or you can look at it in the sense that why are we, confining ourselves to labels of cultures to begin with? And so the way I like to see it is, I am who I am and you are who you are. Yeah, as long as what you're doing isn't going to hurt me or the people around you, then I'm not going to pitch a fit about, what you identify as, where you identify from being. And all the more power to you if you have a specific place or a specific ideology, because that's awesome. It's people sharing their own ideals that helps people grow.
Thank you. And I remember, yeah, in the old days, the older Filipinos would say something like, somebody would say, "So, are you a Filipino?" And then the guy would say, "What are you going to try me? Huh? Oh, come. I have something for you." But anyway, everybody, much love to you, Ben.
Thank you.
Blood, I'm telling you, man, it was beautiful seeing you, and I'm so glad that book is going to come out. Delia, what can I say? I mean, you truly, all three of you are truly poets. Very, very beautiful, and much love to you. And Bruno, so glad to meet you, Blood. And
Man, I'm so happy to meet all you guys.
And if you could take us out with a piece, man, we will go in peace. All right, Blood. So thank you.
Right on. So I'm just gonna play a little bit of improv, based loosely around Cannonball Adderley's "Stars Fell in Alabama." So I'm gonna stand up, just like put
one of my uncle's favorite songs, by the way.
Nice. That's
my late uncle.
Song.
He was a poet and a historian. That was among his maybe top 2, top 3 favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal song, right? So I'm gonna hop up and I'm gonna turn this thing way down. And if it's still too loud, just yell at me. Ah, right.
Right on. Right on, man. Right on. So it was great having you on our show, and I'm hoping. And you're we still have a couple of minutes left. You're also a filmmaker, is that correct?
That's me.
Yeah. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what kind of films you do, and if people want to check you out, perhaps on YouTube, and also check out your group if there's anything online that they can refer to?
Yeah, sure. As far as jazz, me and Fair Purple and Toasterfish, we've got an EP out on Spotify, and so you can figure us out just by typing in Toasterfish. That's toaster, like what you put bread into, and then fish, like you find in the ocean. And we've got 5 tracks out right now. Some of them are silly, some of them are good. And as far as my films, I like to incorporate a lot of documentary style stuff into narrative filmmaking, because I like making, really fantastic ideals in film seem realistic. That's kind of my style. And so you can find me on YouTube at One of the Fish, and that's because I'm part of Toasterfish, and we both do our own separate things, and so now I'm One of the Fish whenever I'm on YouTube. So you can find me out there, and I've got a whole ton of...
Okay, there's Toasterfish, and then One of the Fish.
That's right.
And okay, in Espanol, what is fish in Spanish?
Pez.
What's that?
Un pez.
So, yeah, I'm thinking pescado, right? So
Yeah,
pez is like
pescado,
one fish.
yeah.
Pescado.
Pescado.
In Filipino, it's isda, ISDA, isda. But in Spanish, I don't know which one sounds better. Maybe pescado sounds a little better. But the name is really interesting. You said You said Toasterfish.
That's right.
Because I get this visual of a fish being dropped in the toaster, and then it up, and then it just flips out and it stops flapping around. What was the inspiration on the name?
People ask us all the time, and the answer is we're just weird. And our goal was to think of the strangest thing we could think of without being abstract. And so that's as far as we got, because we struggled with a band name for ages. And so we said, all right, 30 seconds, first thing that comes to our heads. And we wrote it down, and that's what came out.
Yeah. In terms of your jazz, you mentioned Cannonball Adderley. You mentioned.
Hey, Bruno, can you turn your mic back up? I think your mic got turned down when you were doing your music.
You're very right. Ha.
Oh, okay. You mentioned some of the influences on your music. Were there any others? How do you feel about? Are you a Tower of Power fan?
Yeah, I'm a Tower of Power fan. In terms of in the saxophone world, Tower of Power doesn't have the prestigious name that perhaps it should, just because the funk lines aren't the most sophisticated. So real traditional saxophone players look down on Tower of Power, but I quite like it.
I'm a big fan, actually. Being from the Bay. So I guess would you be more of a Blood, Sweat, and Tears guy as opposed to Tower?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this is fantastic. So Toaster Fish, and then on YouTube, Toaster Fish, and then One Fish.
Yeah, one of the fish.
One of the fish. Okay, sounds great. Bruno, again, gracias, hermano. Thank you so much for being on this. Again, Poetry Goes Viral. It's every Thursday at 7 p.m. It runs for an hour. We'll have more. And be sure to like the page. And also, if you have comments, suggestions, or questions, you can get in contact. October is also Filipino American History Month. So might be doing something for that on Poetry Goes Viral. We'll see what happens. But until then, Amor, take care. Thank you to our guests. And shouts out to Kimberly Sims Gibbs for making this all happen and making this possible. Take care and good night.